Well, let's recap our top story now. Wits students marching to Cosatu House. Let's take you now live to the visuals that we have for you, and our reporter Chriselda Lewis is standing by with an update on what's happening there. And Chriselda, from what we can see, hundreds of students that have mobilized for this march. How is it proceeding?
Well, Natasha, where we are right now is heading towards Constitutional Hill, heading to the Trade Union Federation's headquarters in the Bromfontein area. What these students are saying is that they want to call on Cosatu for support for a free education and free education now. You'd recall, of course, that Cosatu has already said that it supports these students in their calls, but they have denounced, of course, the violence that we've seen take place over the past couple of days. But the march itself this afternoon is extremely peaceful, and what we are seeing is police really accompanying the students as they move up Constitutional Hill at this point. Many of the placards that we're seeing here at the moment saying 100% reduction of fees, saying that there should be no increment or should there be no increase in the 2017 academic year fees. But you must recall that Cosatu and the SACP recently said they would seek to ally with students to take this battle over the tuition costs to what they called the rich and private capital. So what they said basically is that they would seek to join these student formations in order to march to the Chamber of Mines and other centers of what they called private capital on October the 14th. And you recall that was a statement made by the Cosatu General Secretary, Begin Jalinjali. So what we've seen over the past couple of days, of course, is several of these universities remaining shut due to these student protests as well. So basically the SACP, including to where we're going right now, Cosatu, have called for what they call, a decisively progressive or graduated tax, basically on the rich and wealthy, to finance education. So basically they're saying that they want to call on the state to move forward and introduce this directly needed tax reform. What they say is would be a solution to the current volatility that we're seeing in the tertiary education sector at this point. But hundreds of these students, certainly an indication there, Natasha, that this certainly is not dying down. We're seeing hundreds of these students continuing with their protests to try and put pressure on various quarters for support. What you'll also note is that the Wits University students have also formed task teams. Now these task teams will then go out and mobilize support from various other universities, and what we're expecting in the next couple of days is an intensification of this action. I think most crucially because Wits University had shut down academic activities until today. They would then need to decide going forward, given the protest today, whether the university itself will open on Monday. Whether that happens or not, certainly that will be communication that we'll be expecting from the Wits University management. And what these students are saying, we just spoke to one of these student leaders a few minutes ago, and we asked whether they're concerned about the academic program and the upcoming exams as well. They're saying they want a complete shutdown and for there to be no exams, for them to send a clear message, according to them, that every institution in South Africa, tertiary institution, should come to a complete halt, and they want every single sector of society. They're now calling on the public, for parents, for teachers to also support their actions. So these task teams will be responsible for going out to various sectors in society to mobilize that kind of support, Natasha.
All right, Chriselda, so it's about getting a greater body of support involved, but what's the plan once they get to Cosatu?
Well, the plan when they get to Cosatu is there's no indication at this point as to who they will meet, but they plan to hand over a memorandum. We're not sure who's going to receive that memorandum at Cosatu at this point, but topping the agenda on that memorandum is what they've been saying all along, a call for free education and free education now. The students don't seem to be dissatisfied with Cosatu at this point. What they're saying is that this is the trade union federation which their mothers and their fathers belong to. So instead of Cosatu saying they stand with the students, they understand the plight of the students, they've condemned the violence that they've seen, but they want Cosatu to take a more aggressive stance, if I can, and to pronounce and perhaps put pressure on the Tripartite Alliance to take a stance on with how free education can be attainable in South Africa. Very importantly, in an earlier interview as well with one of the student leaders, they're saying currently they are involved with a number of academics to draw up a model which they will present to the Department of Higher Education and Training before the end of next week on how they believe education, free education, is feasible in South Africa. So we guess part of that memorandum then that they will hand over to Cosatu is calling on Cosatu to take a more aggressive stance or to say something more than just simply saying that they stand with the students in their plight for a free education. They would want Cosatu perhaps to put a bit more pressure on the powers that be, if I may, to pronounce on what the students' demands are.
All right, Chriselda, thank you very much for that. Chriselda Lewis, live from that march to Cosatu House. As we can see, hundreds of students mobilized for this march. So it doesn't look like things are dying down at all with this protest, but a lot more peaceful today. Chriselda Lewis, live from that march.